Hey, everybody, Drew McClellan here. Thank you for joining us for the members only version of the Look-See at the 2023 research. So as you know, Susan and I talk every year about what specific topic we want to focus on for the year. And this year, with so many of you struggling with new business and, the pipelines are a little dry, sales cycles are longer and a little slower, we decided to ask the question of existing clients: what, when, and how, where do you tend to give your current agencies more budget or money for projects? And so bottom line for us was, hey, if we can get new people to sign on board, how do we get more money out of the ones we already have? And so this data is really all around what clients are telling us. When do they have more money to give us? And if so, what triggers that decision for them? So lots of good news in the study, and let's jump in, Susan.
Great. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you again. As Drew said, this is a really fascinating study. I love sharing this kind of data because it hasn't all been good news lately. So this data is really fresh, just fielded in January this year. 512 respondents, all of them are marketing decision makers. And we set the limits of size at 500 million in annual revenue and 20 million in marketing budget. And all of them work with at least one agency, as you'll see, many of them work with more than one. And we have folks from all around the country. And you can see regionally, we have a pretty good distribution around the country. This that you're looking at is a live visualization of the data. And Drew's going to send you a link to be able to play with this yourself. So everything we're doing in the visualization today, you're going to be able to do too. And I'll sort of show you how to use it as we go through. So the nice thing about 512 respondents is it meets the gold standard in terms of a confidence level for social science research. We have only about 4 percentage points plus or minus as a margin of error at a 95% confidence level. So the data that we're looking at is statistically reliable in thinking about sort of where your agency sits in this, where your clients fit in this framework. This is, as my sister would say, we've tasted enough of the soup to know what's in the whole pot. So first, we're going to talk about the segmentation, as we do every year. If you've seen this before, you know that we're looking at groups in the audience that share a set of attitudes, and that makes them different from the other clients. This year, as in some previous years, we've found 3 segments. Relationship builders, staff prioritizers, and savings seekers. Staff prioritizers are significantly larger than either of the other 2 groups. And as we'll be talking a little bit later, you're probably going to want to focus more on clients in the first 2 segments than in the last.
So actually, for those of you that are familiar with the Agency Edge study, you know that we always end up with, a certain number. Typically it's 3, but not always, but these attitudinal segments. And we work really hard to help you understand the value of each of the segments, because there is value, and that's for each of you, one of the segments more than the other might be the better fit for a client or a prospect, depending on the study. This is really the first year where we've had a segment where what we're really saying to you is these people, their attitudes are so strong and they really are so counter to what we want as agencies that we're recommending you don't exert a lot of energy into pursuing these folks if they end up in your pipeline. Now, you may recognize them as clients, and you may have to just deal with the fact that they're your clients, and hopefully this data will help you understand them better. But what we're saying is we're going to define all 3 of them. So hang tight, Gordon. All 3 of them are probably present in your client base. But what we're saying is, in terms of prospects, you're going to want to focus on the relationship builders and the staff prioritizers. So let us walk you through kind of what each of these segments looks like and what are the attitudes that make them unique. And then we'll talk about, we'll spend most of the time talking about sort of opportunities for you guys with each of the first 2 segments. So,
yep.
All right.
Okay, let's look at the relationship builders. So what you're looking at here, we gave all of the respondents in this survey about 40 statements, and they had to rate them on a scale of 1 to 6, where a 1 is a disagree completely and a 6 is agree completely. You're looking at the statements that are linked together for this segment, whether they realize it or not. We're going to go through them. And this is their average rating on that scale. This line here is the midline between agreement and disagreement. So we've seen this type of client before in our studies. Relationship builders want long strategic partnerships with their agencies. They trust their agencies. And in this case, they're really interested in new things that these agencies can offer them. So my organization wants to work with agencies we can build strong relationships with over time. We want to work with agencies that help us improve our marketing expertise. So being taught by their agency is a key attitude for this particular group. Collaboration between our in-house marketing employees and agencies lead to better outcomes. My organization trusts the guidance and recommendations our agencies provide us. We're interested in any new services our agencies can offer us. Strong agreement there. Working with agencies has helped my organization reach new levels of success. We have the flexibility to adjust our agency spending. We're going to talk more about that. Prioritizing consistent relationships with agencies is the best way to achieve marketing goals. Agencies with high-level communication skills are easier to work with. Maintaining strategic partnerships is a top priority for my organization. The budget for our agencies should be flexible to allow us to take advantage of additional opportunities. And working with organizations saves my organization money. I love that.
So these are the folks, and we have seen them in pretty much every study. These, if all of us could create the ideal client, this segment is those folks.
Yeah.
These are people who are super loyal to their agency. They want you at the decision-making table. These are the clients who want us to be their thinking partner, their strategic partner. They don't think of us as a vendor. They really think of us as an integral part of their business, and they understand that we have a vested interest in helping them be successful. This is always one of the smaller segments, unfortunately, but it is always the segment that makes our heart go pitter-patter a little bit. These are people who want to work with the same agency for years and years and years. They're great referral sources. All of the things we want in a partner and a client, that's what these folks are.
They love their agencies, that's for sure.
And we love them.
Yeah, so that's 30% of the clients out there. Okay, segment 2, staff prioritizers. So one of the differences between these folks and the relationship builders is that these folks have an in-house team that they think is quite expert. And so instead of wanting their agency to teach their team, they kind of more want their agency to learn from their team as well. My organization needs agencies that work as quickly as possible. True experts in our space are hard to find among agencies. It's challenging to find an agency that truly understands my organization's wants, needs, and goals. We want our agencies to be more integrated into our business operations. I wish our agencies would spend more time getting to know our organization's employees personally. Our marketing employees have more expertise than any agency we've worked with. My organization likes to switch from agency to agency, so we always have a fresh approach. Now, that's not strong agreement, everyone. That's right on sort of the midline, but it is linked to these other attitudes for this group. And you can see there's a disparity between how this group feels versus the others that we're talking about. And coordination between our in-house marketing employees and agencies makes everything more complicated. And look at the agreement level here.
Right.
Compared to what is very strong disagreement on the part of the relationship builders and milder, but still disagreement on the savings seekers, which we're going to see. So that's a big deal for this group. And they'll show us more of that later. But they trust their in-house team and they're smart, and they really want their agencies working well with that team and getting to know those employees and having a solid working relationship. Because if it doesn't work, which for a lot of them it has not, it's actually more complicated to bring an agency in than to just rely on what they've got in-house.
And you're going to see this struggle that they experience from their side between their internal team and their agency relationships throughout their answers in the study. And so one of the takeaways for this is, I think this is a conversation we need to have with our teams about how we approach and how we talk about it. I've been in a lot of agencies where we talk about our clients and their internal team, frankly, as though they are not the sharpest crayons in the box. Mm-hmm. And that we have to come in and save the day and teach them and whatever. And for this segment, that attitude is just not going to fly. So we have to be really mindful of coaching our team members to approach the relationship and the internal team with a lot of respect. Yep. And a really collaborative attitude as opposed to a we're here to save the day attitude.
For sure. And just a reminder, guys, this is 43% of the clients, the staff prioritizer group. So this is 4 out of 10 of clients out there. So this is not a rare bird.
So Nick's asking the question, do we think the staff prioritizers, is that related to vertical? Like, people don't understand my industry. Nick, I think you're going to see that attitude in all of the segments, actually. They are all looking for subject matter experts they all think that they're the special snowflake in terms of that if you don't understand their business, you can't possibly help them grow their business. If you don't understand their industry, you're going to see that actually threaded through all of them. And honestly, that's been an attitude we've seen pretty prevalent in the last several years of studies, is that clients want subject matter experts in their space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's certainly what these staff prioritizers are talking about, as we'll see. Okay, here's segment 3, the saving seekers. This is a really different group. Look at the attitudes that this group connects together. My organization is always looking for ways to reduce the amount we spend with our marketing agencies. We will only work with agencies if their pricing is competitive. We could handle our marketing needs in-house if necessary. Economic conditions have made it hard to justify the cost of working with an agency. And my organization only wants to hear how our agencies can save us money, not spend more. So even from
you can see why we're not super excited about these people.
Yeah, I mean, even just from a baseline level in terms of their contracted agreement with you, they want to bring costs down consistently. And it's not so they can invest in something else with you. They just want to bring it down. And as you'll see, this question that Drew and I were asking about, what makes you choose to give your current agencies more money mid-year, make decisions? This group is not doing that. So the opportunity for even stability from a financial standpoint with this type of client is relatively poor, and it's pretty non-existent in terms of the hope of achieving any increased revenue from them. Yeah, ouch.
Yeah.
So these are the attitudes that didn't end up sticking together with others for particular groups. And a lot of the time, it's because, you see, we have very sort of consistent perspectives on them. My organization will only sign on for more work with our agencies if they have proven they can deliver results. And they talk about results and the impetus behind giving their agencies more money. And a lot of it can be, we've seen success with something, it's worked really well, and we're going to put more money into it. Prefer work. Sorry, go ahead, Drew.
So again, all of you are struggling with sort of connecting the dots in terms of here's how much money you gave us. Here are the results. You got more leads, more traffic, more whatever. Again, this is going to be a recurring theme through this study. And as you know, it's something that Danielle and I have been preaching about for the last several years, is we have to find ways to demonstrate to our clients the ROI of their spend. They're being asked inside the organization, and we have to be able to help them understand the value of what they're getting. And in many cases, that is one of the triggers when we can show them the ROI. And they're like, oh, if I give you $1, I get $2 worth of fill in the lead sales, whatever it is. I want to give you more dollars.
Yeah. We prefer to work with agencies that let us take the lead with our marketing strategy and initiatives. Look at this, you guys, that's agreement. And everybody's sort of in the same place. It's not 100% agreement. There is a lot of interest on the part of the clients on being engaged in that process. Having close relationships with agency leadership outside of work leads to better marketing outcomes for my organization. Pretty good agreement with that, especially for the relationship builders and the staff prioritizers. And we actually have AMI only results on some questions around that we're going to show you later in the webinar. My organization would spend more with an agency that really understood our challenges and goals. Like, pretty good agreement there, folks. We're going to see more about that. I wish clients showed us evidence that their strategy and tactics work. We want to work with agencies that need little direction from us. We saw this in a study last year, I think, Drew, last year or the year before, where they were like, can you just be problem free? Can you just like do what we need? You know? And my organization wants to expand the work we do with our agencies. So here's the first hint of some of the good news we're going to have in this report. There is an appetite for more work and more spending with existing agencies. Okay. This is something you guys need to get your heads around. This is the segment distribution. Here it is overall. And here it is based on marketing budget.
Yeah. Look
what happens as the marketing budgets get bigger. Look at the percentage of those staff prioritizers, 43% overall. But once you're getting into the 3 to 5 million or higher, it can be 70 to 80% of the clients that you're going to run into.
And honestly, again, this continues the trend that we have seen over the last couple of years. Those relationship building clients, the ones that want that deep relationship, that really want you involved from soup to nuts in their organization, are always on the lower end of the budget scale.
And size, typically.
Yeah,
I mean, we see them all the way across, but they certainly cluster more
right.
With the smaller agencies. And just a visualization hint here, guys, we've built in lots of ways for you to look at this data on all these charts. So you can go and pick, we're on budget right now, but you can look at revenue or number of employees. We're going to show you that data coming up, but this is a really fun chart to sort of be able to play with and see how those segments are distributing. Okay, so some good news about additional spending, Drew. This is top 2 box agreement. So they gave it a 5 or a 6, strongly agreeing on some of these attitudes about growth. And this is everybody. We're looking at all here. My organization wants to work with agencies we can build a strong relationship with over time. 81% strongly agree with that, regardless of what segment that they're in. Collaboration between our in-house marketing employees and agencies leads to better outcomes. We trust the guidance and recommendations our agencies provide us. We're interested in any new services our agencies can offer us. 59% strongly agreeing with that statement. We have flexibility to adjust our agency's spending. 58% strongly agreeing. Budget should be flexible to allow us to take advantage of new opportunities with our agencies. 46%. And my organization would spend more with an agency that really understood our challenges and goals. 44% strongly agreeing with that statement. So there's a lot of appetite for this. And when we look at the segments, you could see where, the relationship builders are just like, tell me how to give you more money. Tell me how to do more with you. I trust you implicitly, and we're extremely happy with your work. Staff prioritizers here, savings seekers are here. Only 27% of the savings seekers strongly agreed that they would spend more with an agency that really understood their challenges and goals. Only 47% strongly agreed that they're interested in any new services their agencies can offer, compared to 71% of the relationship builders. So they're just kind of lagging. It's going to be a hard fight to get them to do something like that, I think.
They kind of suck.
They kind of suck.
Yeah.
Don't tell them we said so. Okay, we're going to whip through just some characteristics so you see they're in here. So this is the people themselves who participated in the study. So look at these. 81% make decisions with respect to marketing activities, resources, and spending. 19%, it's just spend and budget. So these are definitely the people who are holding this decision in their hand. Age doesn't differ by segment. So we don't have young people in one segment and older people in another.
Right.
The same is true of gender. We don't have the women in one group and the guys in another group. So those kinds of things don't matter.
Again, you're not going to walk into a room and recognize them.
Right.
But we are going to show you some ways to begin to ask questions to begin to categorize prospects and figure out who and where they are.
Yeah, so this is important for that big group staff prioritizers. They are significantly less likely to be in this senior role of founder, partner, and owner. Part of that is probably because of the size of their organizations. We see a lot of senior level execs in this survey, but that group is a little less likely to be the sort of single person at the top of the totem pole. We see a range of time in their current role. Lots of them, half of them, at least only 6 years or less. So they're not all super long-term in their current role. We did ask if they worked in an agency. 19% of them have worked in an agency. Staff prioritizers are slightly but significantly more likely than the relationship builders to do that. And you can tell when you're going through this visualization yourself, if you want to see if it's a statistically reliable difference, click on the button, and any button that stays lit up, there's a statistically reliable difference between those two, even though it may be small. So you can easily sort of see what's going on. So about 20% worked in an agency. All right, let's look at the organizations that they are working in. Wide range of industries here. There's no difference in segmentation. So for example, the relationship builders aren't all in service industries, and the saving seekers in manufacturing or education. They're really across the board. This is the segment descriptions from our Looking for Love study that we did and then repeated years later, Drew. 80% of the relationship builders in this study identify as looking for love clients from our earlier studies. So no wonder they sound kind of familiar, because there's a strong affiliation there between those attitudes of years ago. I think we first did that study like 8 years ago or something.
Yeah, that was our very first studies. Yep.
10 years ago. That's crazy. How long has their organization been in business? For 41%, it's more than 15 years. But again, no difference between segments. So it isn't about how old their organization is either, which can sometimes trip us up, I think. The number of employees. So here are our saving seekers popping out really on the fewer than 10. They are significantly more likely to just be really, really small. And then here are our relationship builders popping up with respect to being under 50 employees, or I should say 50 or under employees. And our staff prioritizers leading the way as our organizations get bigger. We saw their budgets, so you're not surprised with that. Here's their revenue. Under $1 million, 52% of the saving seekers have under $1 million in revenue, only 25% of the staff prioritizers. But we do see segments across the board. So it can be really tricky if you're trying to do this just based on organization size or team size or any of those kinds of things to really be confident that you've got it nailed down. No differences in terms of customer type. So here's B2C, here's B2B, here's government. And they can obviously pick more than one on this list. So it's not that all the B2B people are staff prioritizers or whatever. In-house marketing department. Most of these folks have an in-house marketing department, 62%. And there is no difference between the segments on this from a statistical standpoint.
Right.
How many full-time people do you have in marketing? 52% say only 1 or 2 people, which is maybe not surprising. But look at the difference. Here's the staff prioritizers at only 33% at that rate, because they are much more likely to have bigger organizations compared to both relationship builders and the saving seekers. Here's budget. We showed you this on that other chart, but just so you can sort of see it in the bubble chart. Here's the under 250K budget. And again, staff prioritizers really lagging behind the other two because they've got a lot more folks with bigger budgets in that group. Number of agencies. I love this question. I think we've asked this question for 10 years now, Drew, how many agencies? And this reiterates 53% of these folks have more than one agency, including saving seekers, including relationship builders, who we know sort of are a little bit on the smaller side compared to the staff prioritizers. On average, people are working with multiple agencies. It's just a reality now.
Yeah, I think the reality is that none of us are excited to see this, but it is just the landscape in which we work. It is very rare, I think, today to have a client that is loyal and feels like they're getting everything they need from one agency. We just have to learn how to play nice with other folks.
Yeah. So we asked them how they feel like they're going to rely on agencies over the next 2 years, and the news is good. 43% of our respondents say they plan to rely on agencies more over the next 2 years than they do right now. Here's much more, somewhat more. Here's about the same, 50%. So bell curve here, but definitely more on the more reliance on agencies versus less. We asked them which activities are interested in pursuing over the next 2 years, and they could pick multiple on this list. Topping the list, online advertising, marketing strategy, social media marketing at the top of the list. Programmatic media buying, out of home, smaller, but we know sometimes clients don't even really know what that is.
Right.
And when we look at it by segment, it's really the relationship builders leading the charge on what they're interested in doing more over the next 10 years. Staff prioritizers are often less likely. Social media marketing, some of these kinds of things, website development, they're often less likely to say they're interested in pursuing in the next couple of years.
So again, this will be an opportunity for you to play with this data based on what you do and really customize the research to be even more helpful to you than the broad scope research.
Yeah, you can look at this by revenue or whatever and just sort of play with that. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about agency budgets, Drew.
Hang on, just quick second. So Joe's asking, for the respondents that have more than one agency, is it due to capabilities or limitations, other reasons? What we've seen over the years, and I think it continues to be the case, Joe, is that they feel like marketing, and it's hard to argue this, marketing has gotten so much more complicated and sophisticated that for a small to mid-sized agency to have a depth of expertise in all of those categories of the things that they want is highly unlikely. And so they tend to choose sort of a lead agency that's going to help them with the strategy and then some specializations, depending on they want a PPC SEO shop or a this or that. I do think one of the shifts, and if you listen to the podcast, I think it was episode 400 that Danielle and I did together, walking through the trends, one trend we are seeing is they are tired of managing all the agency relationships. So what the shift we're seeing recently is now what they want is they want a lead agency that's bringing them a team of other agencies and experts and kind of managing it for them. So that's the shift. It is not a shift that they want more than one agency, though. That's been around for a long time.
Yeah. Question about the PR category, or does that in thought leadership cover that? That's a really good point, because that's one we should have broken out separately on this,
Yeah.
but I think they would have put it in thought leadership. I think that's a good thing.
But we noted for next year.
For sure. Okay, agency budgets. So how are they establishing their agency budgets? Just so we sort of had a baseline on how they're looking at things. Regardless of segment, most of them say their organization is setting a fixed dollar amount for budgets, not a percentage of revenue. Although we've got, I think, about 25, 26% that are doing that fixed percentage. A small percentage doesn't establish a budget at all. With respect to changing their budget, so 60% of these folks say they are evaluating results and opportunities regularly and adjusting the budget. That is a majority. And another 20% say their budget can be increased as needed based on opportunities. So that's 80% that have a really open mind about adding to the budget when they find opportunities, which I think is really, really good news and maybe surprising for a lot of agency folks. Only 10% said it's annual, cannot be changed, and another 10%, if there's something dire, we might be able to do it. But the vast majority are willing based on opportunities.
Which I think is probably very different than what we hear from our clients, right? I don't have a dollar more. This is all we have. Oh, you're squeezing me dry, blah, 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 blah. The reality is, if we present them with the right opportunity, they can find the money.
Yeah, it's really, as we're going to see, it's really about trust and us bringing something to them that's relevant for them. And it really doesn't differ by segment, gang. So we don't, for example, have all the savings prioritizers as the only ones in this group. Even savings seekers show up as having opportunities to adjust their budget. They're probably wanting to adjust it down, but there it is. Have you increased an agency budget mid-year? 59% have done this. 59% have increased an agency's budget mid-year. And yeah, that's a big number. And when we look at who has done it, everybody, look, we've got a majority, even among the savings seekers, the relationship builders. I think, again, because of this trust they have in their agency and this tight relationship that they've got with them, even more likely 71% have adjusted their increased their budgets mid-year.
Yeah.
More good news.
But again, I mean, even looking at the staff prioritizers, half. So
right, it's just really.
And what you're going to see is when we ask them why and when, I think this number would be higher if we did the things that they tell us trigger them increasing the budget. I think we're dropping the ball.
We are, no question. Here's why they've increased the budget. They could choose any on this list or offer something else. We saw success in a particular marketing activity and elected to spend more on it. We launched new products or services. We identified an opportunity we couldn't pass up that required more funds. We increased to adapt to seasonal changes, identified a new prospect audience. Look, 22%, the agency proposed a new initiative that we decided to pursue. Very little reaction to competitive activity on this. It's really more about opportunities that they saw that's driving this decision. And again, relationship builders leading the way with those sort of opportunity things. 31% of them said that they did it because their agency suggested that they do it. We're going to hear that again.
Right, over and over.
Over and over. Okay, let's talk about their agency relationships. So we've asked this question before, Drew, and we see a similar distribution here, right? People use an agency for project work, works as a marketing department. They're using it maybe sporadically, instrumental in business strategy. Savings seekers are significantly less likely to use an agency regularly for project work. And the relationship builders are more likely to say that their agency is instrumental in their business strategy and in their marketing planning and budget development. How long have you been with your best agency? I was surprised by this data, Drew. 45% say they've worked with their best agency for 3 years or less, which suggests that it doesn't take a decade to become a client's best agency.
And before you ask, we didn't define best agency, we let them define it. So, I think all of our goal is, if we are in a multi-agency relationship with a client, we want to be the ones they really rely on, count on for strategy, are their thinking partner. And those are how I would sort of define best agency. They're the ones they really count on. So hopefully that's the role that you play with a lot of your clients. But yes, Susan, I think you're right. Well, on the one hand, I was surprised that the trust is built that greatly. But on the other hand, we know that, clients are not inclined to stick around with agencies that they don't feel connected with very long. And in our past studies, we've seen how casually they will break up with us without very little notice. So, I think it's tough to have a long tenure with a client these days. You really do have to be their best agency to have that 5-10 year relationship.
And Camille asked a good question. Could that be that they're getting fresher ideas in that shorter time frame? It could be, but if that's the case and it only lasts for a few years, that's on us in terms of just not being able to continually generate great ideas for them that they see as worth pursuing. I think that's our problem. So a lot of it, I think you will see, they say, comes down to understanding and building a trust that's there.
Yeah.
More than just, hey, we're the flash in the pan. Although we know from previous studies, there are certainly agencies, clients that will do that. They'll just flip around for a different perspective. 19%, so this is AMI eyes only data. The public doesn't get this. 19% have ended a relationship with an agency in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Probably not surprising. We asked them why they did that. The quality of the work was not up to our standards. 51% cited that. The agency was too expensive. We found another agency we want to work with instead. Did not meet our expectations. About 28% said the relationship just ran its course. Interestingly, the saving seekers, my organization was unable to reach its goals working with the agency, which probably translates as we wanted to pay for half as much media and get twice the results. Okay, I love this. How long did you think about ending your agency relationship before you did it?
Yeah, this
How
is
long did
brutal.
you think about it? 44% formally ended their agency relationship within a few weeks of starting to think about it. A few weeks, like that's a quick move.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, and we saw this in last year's research too, their tolerance for lack of responsiveness, mistakes, work that they're not happy with, their tolerance for all of that is getting shorter and shorter and shorter to a point of being almost unreasonable, but it is our reality.
Yeah, and very likely if that's the time frame, we have very little we have very little opportunity to fix it. Like we have to not have it happen because there will not be time to correct it. Okay. This is about what roles their agencies currently play, their various agencies, and which roles they want them to play. So there's a lot of consulting in here. 40 minutes, 40% is a consultant. Strategic partner, much more of interest, both from what our agencies are doing and what we want them to be doing on the part of the relationship builders. They're really more likely to say that they've got that from their agencies. Integrated, so providing a holistic service offering. Being your marketing department, that's about 35% there, and being an execution partner. So most of them, as you'll see, are pretty much getting what they want to a certain extent. Although note that saving seekers are less likely for that to be happening. The percentages are higher on the I hope side than what they're actually getting.
You know, and I think this data is good for us too. Many of you are moving to selling more consulting time and strategy, and you're thinking as opposed to just selling the doing. And so I think this aligns with that in terms of that they value that. And it's one of the
for sure.
that we
I
can
mean,
offer, right?
When 37% say they want their agencies to be consultants, and 44% they say they want them to be strategic partners. Yep.
I don't know, going back to Megan's question, I don't know if it's about the honeymoon phase. I think it is. One of the things that we have heard over the last couple of years is we pursue them with abandon when we're trying to win their business. We are wooing them, we're bringing them flowers and candy, we're doing all the things. But boy, once we get into our relationship with them, they don't feel like we continue to woo them. And you're going to see later that one of the biggest triggers for them giving us more money is us bringing them fresh ideas, which they don't think we do enough of, to answer both of your last questions.
For sure. Yeah, you're going to see data around that. What kinds of agencies are they working with? Digital marketing agencies are at the top here, social media agencies, web dev, traditional, and you can see the relationship builders are more likely to work with more of these types. Brand, research, and PR is more likely on the staff prioritizer side of the house.
Yeah.
So again, back to what they define as their best agency, how would you rate your experience with your best agency? 78% say it's very good or excellent, but at the excellent level, it's really only relationship builders, which are where I would like to see them. Half of them saying their experience is excellent with their best agency. There's a lot of opportunity here with the staff prioritizers to move things up, I think. How long do you plan to continue working with your best agency?
So this
Quite a
gets,
while.
Megan, a little bit to your question. Could it be the honeymoon phase? I think as long as we stay in that best agency status and we have programs and processes, and you're training your AEs in particular, how to continue to make a client feel important and wooed and all of those things, they want to stick around. They don't want to change agencies.
Yeah.
It's like changing banks. It's a pain in the ass.
Yep, for sure. 35% plan to continue working with their best agency for at least 5 more years. Among relationship builders, that's half. That is your stickiest client group.
No doubt. But pair this with on the flip side, when they tick me off, within a week or two of me going, maybe this isn't working, I
will dump them. I will move on.
Right.
Yeah.
So they want to work with us for 5 more years, but we have a very narrow ledge to stand on to maintain that status.
The good news is they're very specific in this study about what that takes.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's not overwhelming. It's stuff we should be doing.
Well, and I was going to say it's not unreasonable. Right.
Right. Okay. So this is again AMI only data. So we asked folks on all of these things compared to in-house departments, how would you score marketing agencies on each of the following? And they could pick agencies are better, they're equal, or in-house is better. The places where agencies are better: innovation, creativity, quality of deliverables, achieving market goals, differentiation from our competitors, providing ROI. 38% say agencies are actually better at providing ROI than in-house is. Strategy, delivering results, staying on scope, right? But there are some things down here that in-house is better, and listen to what they are. So starting about here, we start to lose the battle. So this is clarity of communication. This is cost effectiveness, timely communication, understanding our audience, understanding our industry.
So that, Nick, there's the answer to your question again. This is where, if we can, again, I know that I sometimes sound like a broken record around niching, but this is such a significant point for them that we get their business.
Yeah.
And that we are an insider, if you will, on the outside. That combination of having some outside perspective, but being an insider in terms of our depth of knowledge in their industry is critical to them.
Yeah. And I think too, this is where some of that we want you to learn from our team can come from, with 43% of our clients in that staff prioritizer group, because they feel like their in-house team has more of this and we're not listening. Collaboration and then transparency. We only get a 14% is better on that. So this whole section down here is totally stuff that should be table stakes for us as agencies in terms of communication and really understanding their audience, their industry.
And again, this is the blueprint. I am always harping on you spending some time on what we call client love, sitting with your client and talking to them about how you're serving them, what else you could do to be better. So I would take this list and say, we want to make sure we are meeting or exceeding your expectations in terms of how timely our communication is. Do you feel like we really understand your audience? And if not, what can we do to better understand them?
Yep.
I would be working hard to demonstrate our understanding of their industry. We are working hard to collaborate. Are there other things that you would like us to do? Are we being as transparent? Are there questions that you have that you haven't asked us yet? I mean, this is the conversation text that you could have with a client to make sure that you are exceeding their expectation on these things that right now they say we're not that great at.
Yeah, this would be a great list to put in front of clients in terms of a quality survey, feedback type, something like that.
Or, over a cocktail or whatever, however.
Yeah, totally.
But generating the conversation, I think, is critical.
Yeah. So more good news here, Drew. Only 12% of our respondents are confident that relying solely on their in-house team would generate a better return on investment than working with an agency.
Yeah.
These folks recognize the ROI opportunity with agency, even when they have an in-house team, which is really good. Now, as you would expect, there are some differentials here The relationship builders are firmly in the probably not camp. A lot of the staff prioritizers are, I could maybe get a better ROI if I just relied on my team. Again, they have a lot more faith in their teams and their expertise. The relationship builders are wanting their teams to learn from the agency. Talking about collaboration, Drew, we asked them what kind of opportunities are your agencies providing with respect to collaboration. So obviously we see a lot of Zoom, emails, Google Docs, co-working sessions, in-person meetings outside of the office. Only 31% say they're getting something like that. Slack, 20%. Bonding events between your organization's employees and the agencies. Only 17% have anything like that going on. Not surprisingly, the saving seekers are getting fewer of those opportunities from their agencies. I wonder why that is. And the relationship builders are getting more. Do you trust the recommendations of your agencies when it comes to strategy? Look at this. 42% say they absolutely trust their agency's strategic recommendations. 51% say they do to some degree. I wouldn't like to see very big numbers here because that means they're still paying an agency that they don't trust, which I don't think they would be doing. But man, it would be really nice to see more in the absolutely camp than we see here. When we look at what's happening with the relationship builders, look at that, 60%. There's the number there with that group. And it's lower in terms of absolutely for both the saving seekers and the staff prioritizers. Here's another one. Does the agency care about whether our organization reaches its goals? 55% say absolutely. 37% say to some degree. That should be like 100% in a perfect world. They should feel like we really do care about them achieving what they're trying to achieve. 78% of relationship builders say that their agency absolutely does that. So there's another clue in terms of understanding what they're looking for, like their audience, their industry, their goals.
Yep.
What problems are agencies solving for them? So again, all that apply: brand identity needing to be stronger, differentiating, growing sustainably. They don't have the tools and resources to reach their marketing goals, visibility and awareness. Our internal team lacks the expertise we need, 28%, etc.
Why do we think what is? Sorry.
That's okay. Megan, do you want to unmute?
Or just type more.
I don't see any typing.
Nope.
Okay.
So Megan, get back to us and tell us what you mean by why do you think this is, and we'll go back to answering it.
I think it's interesting because this is something I hear a lot from agencies, is about clients using their agency because their client is having bandwidth issues. That's actually a relatively small percentage of why they're using agencies. It's because of what we know how to do far more often.
Oh, it was the trust question. You know what, I think a lot of times, and you know this from some of the workshops you've been at with Mercer Island Group, I think a lot of times we skip the explaining to a client how we came to the conclusions we did. We just share with them what we think or make our recommendation, but we don't sometimes I don't think we walk them through the thinking or the research or the exploration we did to get to the answer. And so I think we're asking them to make a leap of faith in terms of, I think the sky is green, and we're not really telling them why we think the sky is green. We're not showing them any data, research, our thought process. So I think sometimes it's that we truncate the explanation. I think sometimes it may be that the relationship is new. Sometimes I don't think we ask them to push back on our recommendations, or we don't involve them in the collaboration of creating recommendations and strategy. So I think all of that contributes to them going, yeah, I kind of trust them, or I think I trust them, as opposed to absolutely, I have complete faith in them. And I
Plus,
think if I have complete faith in them that's a pretty strong and powerful statement.
yeah. Plus, don't you think, Drew, like they're so, they want to see that the stuff we're recommending is working. And if we're not doing a good job
On the
showing
back end,
them the
right.
impact of what's happening, then it's going to be more difficult for them to trust us for the next recommendation that we bring along. And sometimes, as we saw in a study, I think last year, a lot of it's just about like reporting. Like, are you even showing me stuff? Okay. Let's see, we were on, okay, agencies solving problems. Again, relationship builders more likely to say their agencies are doing this stuff for them right now. Okay, again, AMI eyes only gang. How is your best agency exceeding your expectations? So in their head, the best agency they're working with, look at what they say that agency is doing. Communication, understanding our customers, understanding our industry, understanding our business goals, and all of that before we even get to the quality of the deliverable or driving results. Like, so much of this is about they get us, they really get us.
Yeah.
That's what their best agencies are doing. And that's what they say is actually creating, we're going to see it by segment in just a second, Brad, is actually creating that sense of trust and deep understanding before we even get to results or return on investment or meeting deadlines or some of those things that we get really, really focused on. There's all this area up here.
I think we are so transactional, and we feel like our clients want to get us to the transaction of the stuff so quickly. And, everything is sped up that I don't think we're spending enough time in deep conversation with our clients about their goals, their customers, and all of that. And I think we have to push for that, because I think they are feeling time starved and they want to jump to those conversations, even though it's not what they value the most.
Yeah, and Camille makes a great point. It really lines up with what we saw when they scored us versus in-house. These are the things we suck at compared to their in-house team.
According to them, right.
And this is what they are getting from their best agencies when they're exceeding expectations. The relationship builders, look at these percentages that say their agencies are doing all of this for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at the staff prioritizers, who are 43% of this group. Look at the gap in terms of understanding our customers, our industry, our goals, compared to what the relationship builders are reporting.
Yeah.
Imagine if we were firing on all cylinders with those folks.
And again, the relationship builders are the clients who are more likely to give us the space and time to do these things and have those conversations. I think we have to push harder with the staff prioritizers. And by the way, we might not be talking to the decision maker. We might be talking to their team, and we need to convince them that we're good communicators. We understand their customers. We understand the industry. We understand the goals. And that has to trickle up through their side of the organization to the decision maker.
And in this study, Drew, there's so much data in this. And as I look through it, what I see is that the staff prioritizers, you don't become a relationship builder out of thin air. They've had a relationship that was really good and positive for them. So I think that there's an opportunity to take somebody that's a staff prioritizer and make them loyal just because we're delivering in places they want us to deliver that we have not been doing.
Yeah.
How often do you want to receive feedback requests from us, your agency? This is how often they get them. This is how often they want them. Daily, look, every week, every month, once per quarter. Look at how frequent this is. This is yearly during reviews, 4%. They want us to ask how we're doing.
Yeah. But interestingly enough, how often they get it and what they want are pretty closely together. So it seems to me that part of the insight into this question is we are doing a good job of asking them how often they want to get feedback back and forth, and we're trying to adjust our service levels to that.
Yeah, but if your agency is not doing this, this is where they want us to be. So it's a good opportunity again to see sort of what's happening out there. Okay, NPS score for your best agency. Again, AMI only data here. Relationship builders give their agencies an NPS of 63, Drew. Look at that. That is like an Apple level, Nike level number. That is amazing. Saving seekers of 15 and staff prioritizers, 43% are giving us a 24. They're best agencies in terms of recommending to anybody else. So we really do need to do better with respect to that, I think. Okay, what do they want in an agency?
Hang on, Susan, I wanted to stop you. So FYI, for those of you that are keeping an eye on the clock, it is the top of the hour. We easily have another 30 minutes of really important stuff to tell you. So if you can stick around, stick around. If you need to go, just go ahead and go. We will get you the replay of this entire thing probably by the end of the week. And
the link to this so you can play with it yourself.
And the link so you can play with it yourself, right? But hopefully you can stick around because we're getting to the sort of the prescriptive part of this research now.
Yeah. So this data isn't new, Drew. Creativity, flexibility, communication skills. We've seen this before in terms of what they want from agencies. The good news is humility. Only 13% of them expect that. So I feel like we can over deliver on the humility component here. And in terms of, the segments, the relationship builders have the highest bar here. They have been trained to have very high expectations. Look at critical thinking here. They really want a lot from their agencies. What characteristics does your ideal agency have? Well, every time we put this in a list, it's here, 100% satisfaction guarantee. And we actually had somebody when I presented this at BABA this year, Drew, that said their agency does this and has never had to pay out for it. So I don't know what your recommendation is on 100% satisfaction guarantee, but it's pretty popular.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for $1 million.
The other two I think are fascinating. Specialized marketing expertise, portfolio of clients in our industry. This is the you are a specialist that people are looking for, and it's very, very specific. And then full range of marketing services, which sounds weird. It sounds like a weird combination, but I think what we're seeing, Drew, is people that really want specialists, that really want an deep understanding of this niche, this industry, but also has access to a full range of services to bring to bear. So you were talking earlier about partner agencies or somebody like White Label IQ that can provide expertise. Because this set of three things is really, really interesting. Multiple pricing structures, treats our employees well and shares value with our organization, top out the list here. Nice offices, bottom of the list at 7%. Do we have any stats on the tenure of clients' decision makers by segment? We're seeing a higher than normal turnover. Yeah, that data is back when you look at how long you've been in your current role. You can look at that by segment. It doesn't differ a lot by segment, but you can sort of see where that is. And it's across the board, honestly, Gordon. Megan said, what is satisfaction? Right.
That's why I wouldn't offer the
right? Nick, what's an office?
Very nebulous. There's a very nebulous term.
Yes. Nick wants to know what an office is.
And I think, honestly, most of you do in a way guarantee your work in terms of you keep at it until the client is satisfied with it. But I think we've had several agencies that have tried a guarantee. And unless it's very specifically defined, we have had a lot of agencies in court because of that guarantee. So it's not something I would put in writing.
Yeah.
Because it's so ridiculous.
Katie wonders, do we have multiple respondents from the same organization? So unlikely, given how we source respondents, it's possible. But the number of respondents that we have mean that would not have skewed our results because we've got 512 with these folks. So that's part of the whole statistical sample of this thing to make sure that we don't have one organization driving all of these answers. This one just kills me. What descriptors appeal most to them? Creative, full service, 58%. Drew, full service. So they want a specialist, but they want us to call ourselves full service.
Well, I think this gets back to the fact that what they really want is they want their best agency to shepherd all of the other relationships they have.
Yeah.
They're tired of being the one that sources all the separate agencies and the ones that manage them. And so again, I think part of the value of AMI is it's pretty easy for you to start to align yourself with other agencies that offer services that you don't, and inside the community to create a trusting relationship where you can serve clients together without worrying about people throwing you under the bus or poaching or whatever.
Yeah, here's research-based. That's one of my favorite, 31%. And look, if you're calling yourself not your typical agency, stop.
Right.
not something they want to hear. And then,
and I think that gets back to, one of the things Mercer Island Group always talks about is we try and get super fancy with the way we talk about ourselves, and all we do is confuse them.
Yeah. So some differences by segment on that, but you guys can look at them on your own time. Okay. How important are all of these for a marketing agency to offer for your organization to continue working with them? A 6 is very important. So look at understanding our goals and objectives. Again, at the top of the list, consistent quality, regular communication, proof of ROI, and then we get to pricing and reporting and tools and all that kind of stuff. When we look at this from a top 2 box standpoint, so what percentage said these things were extremely important? Look at the percentages at the top of the list here for extremely important. These are non-negotiables, and they are also things we're not doing.
They're the lowest of the numbers, right?
Right.
Yeah, at 71%, right?
Yeah, exactly. So really high percentages. Expect this. Please do note that the staff prioritizers, 60%, say a personal relationship with the agency leadership, and 54% say personal relationships with agency employees.
Right.
Is extremely important. So yes, the you is important, but also Drew, your team needs to have, they want relationships between your team and theirs. Another interesting question. Would the following impact your organization either positively or negatively? Okay, delivering ahead of schedule. Owner schedules a meeting with me to understand what improvements they could make. 74% say they would positively impact their opinion of your agency.
Provide that's that owner love, agency love.
Yes, and just asking for feedback.
Right?
Yeah. Provides a document that outlines what my organization can expect from working with them, shares the agency's project goals with my organization, schedules weekly check-ins with my organization, templated services, news services, asked to have in-person meetings to discuss milestones, progress, and other project details, ask for formal feedback from us. I love this one. Schedules a values alignment conversation as part of its onboarding process. Sends a gift package thanking us for our business, delivers assets after the deadline that exceed my expectations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This stuff is not hard to do.
Right.
I mean, you got to find time to meet with people, but holy moly, their bar is not exceedingly high.
Right. And by the way, it doesn't cost you money. It just costs you a little bit of time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's the same thing from a segment standpoint, you can see. Okay. This is a really interesting question. How often do you want in-depth reports from the agency? So this is every month. And this is every week.
Right.
And this is daily.
And I know this question frustrates you because you can't even get them to look at the reports that you provide for them. So, I wrestle with them saying it's important, but do they do anything that actually makes it important or makes us understand that it's important. And I think we do get mixed messages there.
Yeah. One of the conversations we had too in the session at BABA was, you know, a lot of reporting that agencies are doing is accumulated throughout the month, and then we dump this big report on them. And you theoretically could do in-depth reporting on a section of that thing and sprinkle it out throughout the month, so that maybe one week you've got an in-depth thing on what's happening on social, and the next week you've got an in-depth thing on what's happening with their media and, you know, whatever, like, so that they really feel like they're getting some meat on the bone and they're not having to wait a month for it and then maybe get something that's big and overwhelming to them. It's definitely something to think about perspective wise in terms of what they want. Okay, who's buying additional agency services from their existing agencies? 39% did this in the last year, purchased additional services from their agencies in the last year. I bet you won't be surprised about who's more likely to do it. Definitely savings seeker is a little less likely, but these two are right in the same spot. So folks are actually doing this, whether they're telling you they're doing it or not. And why did you do it? So again, launching a new product, we needed some more marketing resources. We wanted a fresh approach. An agency approached us with a new service. Okay, and then look what's happening with the savings seekers. 33% say they learned from research our prospects would resonate with whatever we decided to buy from the agency. We saw another organization see success with this. They're really popping out around learning what's working or what's of interest to their audience.
Which again, if you are spending time with them and you're talking about how you can serve them better, one of the things they want to know from you, and this gets to the whole thing of your AEs being order takers versus business builders. And if they're not learning more about the industry, more about your clients, more about your clients' competitors and all of that, and then sharing what they've learned, they are leaving money on the table.
Yeah. The other thing I want to just reference, because it's going to come up again in a minute. We learned about marketing services from a thought leader, and we learned about the service from a conference or a seminar or a meeting that we went to. And especially for the staffing prioritizers, the staff prioritizers, that is important. And it's going to come up again in a minute. Okay, no, we just did that one. Okay, when do you want the agency to approach you with new offerings? Look at this list. During a regular check-in, during strategy conversations, in a proposal, during biz dev conversations, during annual planning, look at all of the times they want this.
But look at only 2% say, I don't want them to approach us with new services.
And only 16% say at the end of the year, or 19% say after project completion. 24% say during onboarding. Tell us if we've missed something and there's a big opportunity waiting for us. Like, this is powerful, you guys. There are so many times when they're willing to hear from us specifically about new offerings.
And again, in a regular check-in, typically we're like, let's get through the project list. Let's give them a quick update. Let's get in and out. And what they're saying is there's opportunity for us that we are not taking advantage of.
Yep, absolutely. All right, what's the decision process for buying those additional services? So 36% say their leadership decides what they need to purchase. 26% there's collaboration with the agencies to figure out what services they want. 20% multiple people are involved. 9% just wait for their agency to tell them what is needed. And it doesn't really differ by segment. Collaboration with agencies more on the part of the relationship builders than we see with other groups. Okay, how likely is it that you will, if your best agency approach you with a new service, how likely is it that you would buy it? Look at these numbers. 94% say they would at least be somewhat likely to purchase a new service pitched by their best agency. The opportunity is there. All right, relationships with agency leaders. This is all AMI only data, Drew.
Yeah.
So do you want a more social relationship with the agency owner? 43% say yes, at least to some degree. They would like more social interactions with agency owners.
A third of them are iffy. So see, it depends on how charming you are, apparently.
Apparently how charming we are. And we asked them if they're iffy, we asked them why. Look at our staff prioritizers, right? That's all, that's 52% of them say probably or definitely want more interest. They have more interest in having a social engagement with us. If they weren't that interested, we asked why. 51% said, I keep my work and social lives separate. 44% have other priorities with their free time. 34% I don't have time. 28% said it is not appropriate.
Now, this is just of the people who said, no, I don't want
Right.
to. Isn't the
That's
big,
right.
yeah.
21%, I don't want to be sold to, and I don't want to feel indebted to an owner. So, you know, that makes sense. There's going to be a percentage of folks who feel worried about that, but that's a great conversation to have.
Right.
As you get a new client, because a lot of them do want that, but I think asking about it is a really good idea given some of this data. So what do you,
at the very least, extending in the invitation. If they say no, they say no.
right?
But
Exactly.
most of the time, based on the data, they're going to say yes.
Okay, this blew my mind. What do you want to do in those social engagements? So I was not surprised to see 63% say grabbing a meal or drink together, but 57% say participating in a conference together. And do you remember where the staff prioritizers are learning new things? They're a little more likely to say that that is happening at a conference. But look at the percentages that say they would love to do some part of a conference with you. So I think, you know, I get to do conferences sometimes with clients, Drew, because I'm presenting research with them.
Yeah.
And it's such a neat opportunity to have conversations around what they're hearing at the conference. So think about
imagine sitting in a session together, you're learning about something together, and then saying, you know what, when I hear what he or she said, I think about this thing we're doing. And boy, if we could overlay this new thing on top of what we're doing, that would be really interesting. I mean, it's such a natural way to have conversations to explore new opportunities.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the places we're missing the boat.
Yeah. And by definition, it demonstrates your investment in them as a client and in their industry, which is so important to them. So I think there's a huge opportunity here. Like these two far outstrip anything else we saw on the list. So if you have an opportunity to do this with a client, please do that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a little challenge. How often do you want to communicate with agency leadership? So 38% every month, 37% every week. So that sounds pretty daunting, Drew.
But I think you can communicate with them. You know, I love the very personal email from the owners to the clients, you know, that, hey clients, this is just for you. Here's something we're watching this week, or saw this interesting article about how AI is changing this or that. I don't think it means you have to talk to each of them individually every week. Some of them want that, but I think hearing from you in a way that feels intimate and personal would be a great solution to this request. And if they want more, they'll indicate that they want more, but that would be an elevation for most of you of what you're doing. And I think it's really a great way to do that. Several of you have kind of an agent's client only email that comes directly from you. And it's not super long. It's a paragraph or two. It starts with thanking them for their business. And this is why that you're sharing with them this, you know, inside information. I just think it's a great thing. So Megan's saying she does a CEO point of view to a list every week. Yeah, but you know what, Megan, I would make it look like it's coming from me. I don't know how it looks, but I would make it look like it's coming from your personal email as opposed to like a CRM.
Yeah, and when we look at this, like, you know, we've got a lot of the bigger size clients actually wanting more frequency.
Right.
So if we're sort of thinking that they don't have time to deal with stuff like this because they're at the helm of a larger organization, Yeah, I love that idea, Megan. That's really cool. Okay, very quickly, I want to show you guys what else is in here because there's a little bit of appendix stuff at the end. When you're searching through this data, and maybe if you're choosing to share it with anybody inside, this is that full list of all those attitudes that we gave them that they rated. So this way you get to look at it by any of these different kinds of things, right? Not just segment. And this is the same thing, except it's top 2 box agreement. So you can look at here, we're looking at the attitudes defining the staff prioritizers. And this is just the percentage that strongly agreed with these things. And again, you can look at it by revenue or number of employees. So just a little thing, couple of things in the back for you to explore the data. People think that visualization is about a pretty way to present data. In fact, it's built so that it makes it easier to you to explore it and look through it. And there's a lot in here. So, but that's it for today. Closing thoughts, Drew, on all of this. Pretty powerful study this year, I think.
Why don't you stop unsharing, Susan, so people can see faces? But for several years, a lot of the data we brought back to you guys was a little painful to share. It was a lot of less than ideal responses. And so we feel really good about this data and the fact that it's very actionable. And most of the actions, most of what they're asking for isn't extreme. It's not super expensive. It's not going to require you to staff up. But I'll tell you what it is going to require. I've been harping to many of you for years about where you should be spending your time as the agency owner or leader. And I think this outlines some things they want from you more than what they're getting. And if you're in the day-to-day work with clients every day, all day, you've got to find time to carve out and cultivate relationship. But I think it also says a lot about our AEs and what they need to be doing and thinking about, and the opportunities that they have to tee up new sales for us if they are not just order takers, if they really are invested in the client's business, in the industry and things like that. So I think this is a very prescriptive piece of research for us in terms of ways that we can grow our business with our existing clients, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. Does anybody have any remaining questions? Okay. If you do, yeah, Megan. There you are. While we're waiting for Megan, I'll just tell you guys, if you do have questions about the visualization or any of that kind of stuff, you know where to reach me, Susan@audienceaudit.com. Just hit me up. And if you can't see something that you want to see, let me know so that we can help you get what you need for sure.
Well, remember, Megan, we did this research in January. We unveiled it at the summit in May. So this is very fresh. The recession talk was certainly already happening by the time we did this data. So if anything, if they're feeling this way during a recession or their perceived recession, that's good news for us. So this I think does take into account people being a little wonky about the economy and everything else. So I think what that means is as the economy gets better, these opportunities should get even greater for us.
Yeah, we talk about the trust barometer from Edelson, and I'm just always fascinated that in the last 3 years, the holders of trust are businesses like us, more than government or media or religious organizations. And I feel like we know that has not always been true, and there will probably be a time in the future when it is not true, but we have like this golden shining moment to actually be their trusted resource. And this research expresses so much, I think, about having that relationship with a client and the power of that to actually be able to build business with them over time and get them to spend more with us.
And I think there are some recurring themes that they desperately want us to be invested in their industry, in their business goals. And I think a lot of times when we don't get what we want from a client in terms of their goals or their KPIs or whatever, we don't push very hard to get them. And one of the takeaways for me from this research is we, the agency owner or somebody near the top, has to have conversations with somebody on their end near the top that is about making sure that we have a shared set of goals and that we are really measuring against those goals and reporting against those goals. So we have to fight a little harder, I think, to get that data so we can demonstrate our value in a more significant way.
Yeah, I'm putting the link to the public visualization just right here in the chat. But Drew will also have it when he sends out the recording of the webinar. But anybody can go play with that. So roll around in it for a little while. And as I said, if you have questions, let me know. This is the AMI only version. So
Don't share it out, please.
right, we're doing a public webinar with the stuff that we hold for you guys out of it. So just keep it in AMI if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Fun talking with you.
For us.
Yep, sounds good,
All right,
everybody.
guys. We will try and get this out to you by the end of the week. Thank you so much for your time. Talk to you soon.
Have a
Thank
great rest of
you.
your day, everybody.